Preparing for an interview, on this, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to prepare thoroughly for interviews. If you're interviewing through us, through Beacon Legal, we'll really make sure we take time to make sure you're as best prepared as possible, either meet you for a coffee or jump onto Teams or Zoom and go through what we would recommend doing for that specific interview. It's definitely really important to do what you want to try and do. To give a general bit of advice is make sure that you can talk through your CV in a really good amount of detail. So what we were just saying there around making sure you've got the requisite level of detail on each matter, that's one part of it, but then you actually need to be able to speak to that, but to do so in far more detail than you've got listed on your CV. So I'd say if you've got 7 to 10 matters, you want to be able to speak to all of these in good amounts of detail, but probably pick 2 or 3 for real in-depth discussion. And it's not good enough just to be able to say, I did the first cut of the SPA, I prepared the due diligence report, I managed a junior. You really need to get into forensic detail on the main transaction documents. So if we're talking about an SPA, you need to be prepared for the partner to say, what were the main warranties that were heavily negotiated? You need to be able to state what's the difference between a warranty and indemnity. You need to be able to go into that level of detail. Obviously, I've just said that off the cuff there. It's going to obviously be completely related to your own experience, but you need to be able to talk about anything that was really heavily negotiated, anything that was really contentious, anything where you had to manage the client really, really thoroughly, anything where you had to enter heavy negotiations with the other side, that level of detail. And if you're a bit more senior and you are in charge of managing people as well, you need to be able to talk about your management style, how you can manage juniors effectively, how you manage upwards, your experience dealing with clients. So really do go into good amounts of detail, because if you prepare for that level, then during the interview, you'll hopefully have that info at the tip of your tongue, so you can answer your questions in the right amount of detail and succinctly as well. So that's probably 75-80% of preparing for an interview, that top bullet point around your CV. The second, you're always going to get asked, why are you interested in working in X city? Especially the locations we're talking about today, the interviewers are going to really want to know that you've got some commitment to working in those jurisdictions specifically. So have a think about your own motivations and your goals and why that specific city is appealing to you. Try to avoid being really general. You want to try and be as specific as you possibly can in these questions to make sure it comes across as convincing as possible, which I'm sure your reasons are. If you're ever asked how long you plan to work there for, look, if you go into X jurisdiction and your plan is to be there for 2 years, it's up to your discretion, but you probably want to try and give an open-ended answer where you can where you can not say that you're only going for such a short period of time, because generally the partners want to know that someone's going to come and move for an extended period and they've actually got commitment to the city they're interviewing for, which ties into what I was saying before. So just be conscious of that. Why X firm? Again, really, really important. You'll always get asked this. Why do you want to come and work here? So make sure you've got good reasons. We recommend having at least 3 really good reasons as to why the specific firm. So you can use their website, you can use the partner profiles, use the legal press, Legal 500, Chambers, whatever it is, for specific firms. Obviously ask us as well if we're helping you with your move. We can often have insider info that's really good to pass on, which you can use to really reaffirm your interest in that specific firm. Again, really important. You want to be able to try and differentiate between the firms so they know you're specifically interested in them. And then making sure that you've got some questions prepared. I'm sure you would have anyway. It's a huge move moving internationally, so I'm sure you do have questions prepared. Really have a think about intelligent questions to ask though. You can ask about the culture, you can ask about the standard stuff people ask in interviews, which the partners will have heard 100 times before. But if you can really think about some intelligent questions, that's going to help set you apart from the other applicants. An example that we recommend using, and feel free to use this if you go to any interviews, is you can jump onto one of the partners' profiles. If you pick out a matter which they've worked on, you could say, excuse me, Mr. Partner, I saw that you advised on X matter when you were working with that client. Just wanted to ask you, if I was an associate working on that matter with you, what would my role be? What would you expect of me on the day-to-day? And that shows that you've done research into the partner. It shows that you've looked at the type of transactions that they're working on. The question shows that you're thinking about how you fit into the team. And also, really importantly, the answer to it is going to be really important for you to be able to assess the firm as well, and make sure that the role which you'd be going into is aligned with what your expectations. And then the basic stuff around VC interviewing. So it is more tricky than face-to-face because you can't build that natural rapport. So just all the basic stuff, making sure that you speak clearly, slightly louder than you would do in a normal face-to-face, just so that you're heard very clearly. Try and be as confident as you can, obviously without going overboard. Always recommend trying to spend a bit of time initially if you get the chance to build rapport. If you're moving internationally, have a think about something interesting to break the ice. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be how's the weather, or those types of questions, but just try and take a bit of time to build rapport, because it's really important to do that, especially when you can't speak in person. So they're the main things. So yeah, if you're going to take anything from that, these specific points are super beneficial for you to be able to really work on when you're preparing for interviews. Definitely the CV part as the primary part, and that level of detail I just went over.